I should have went live on to TikTok, shouldn't I? I didn't think of that. Oops. Oh well. Okay, we're live. Test 1 2 3. It works. All right, I think it works. Dude, the games today were quite fun. I'll be honest, they were more fun than yesterday. Um, Cloud 9 games were game one was game one. I have no idea what Cloud was doing with that dive, like level one. Oh man, it was so bad. It was so bad. Anyways, I think that was probably one of the worst like lane swap results I've ever seen in the past year. I know like back in 2015, 2016, like it was bad, but yeah, it was quite quite bad. Um, after the game, I didn't record this because I didn't want to like post this, but we had Aoshi, who's the coach for Loud, right? And the vibe was so down and so like depressed in the media room, and like yesterday at least people, I feel like because Payne gave 100 Thieves a good showing and like nobody really expected FlyQuest to lose. um they were still kind of cheerful and like expecting their teams to win, but today it was quite funny because one of the questions was like, hey, no, like in the past whenever we play like international play we lose, but like we would lose in like 40 to 45 minutes. And nowadays, like these days, we were losing in like 30, 35 minutes. Is the gap getting bigger? And he's like, what? He was just like baffled by the question. He's like, no, the gap. I don't think the gap is getting bigger. I don't think these teams, the LTA North teams, are doing things that are like what's episode like they're not doing like anything crazy that we're not doing. It's just they're a little bit more disciplined and like they might have better setup, and like they it's not that we don't know what steps we need to take, it's just they're better at um not applying, they're better at following through with the steps that you need to take, for your objectives and whatnot. So I thought he gave like a relatively good answer. Like he's like, we're not that far off. I know we all lost, but like if we just improve on these things that are plaguing us, that are causing us to lose the games, which are not that big. It's not like we're being blown out from minute one. Obviously, game one, the dive didn't work very well, but just in general, as long as we can play League of Legends. We're not being out hands diffed, right? We saw Chitan or the Titan. We saw him like outplay Sniper. We saw him outplay. He got outplayed by Quid, but like we saw him get the 2v2 kill. Like we can, even at Worlds, we saw like Chitan and Curry were this is me speaking, not the coach, but we saw them like going head to head and winning these mechanical like plays. Our problem isn't like the mechanical stealing. Our problem is, and it's like it's not even a problem with. It's not just one problem. Like for example, Issa's Estral has very good macro, and they almost took down like Team Liquid. It should have been a 2-0, like if we're being honest, but Team Liquid did shake a little bit. Umti had a few misplays, but in general, like nerves and stuff, like I get it. I'm probably the biggest Umti apologist, even though I will say he's not playing well. I don't think he should be kicked off the team. Like so many people are like, "Oh, get UG." I'm like, what makes you think that UG is gonna go in front of a crowd that's booing him? And like, it's literally, they were saying how the booth was shaking, like and it was only 150 people, by the way. It's not like thousands of people. Like in New York, in Madison Square Garden, we were there. Like it was shaking, but it was because there was like a stampede, So, like, what makes you think you're going to bring in a rookie and he's just going to be better than Umti? Like, I don't necessarily think that's the case. I want to see this project, the 2 year project. I want to see it go all the way. And I'm unless Umti is like absolutely, completely, and entirely mental boomed and inting every single game and not playing anything well, then like sure, maybe then you have the discussion of getting a sixth man. But as of right now, I don't think you do that. I think you trust Umti. You show him that you trust him. You show him that like the team as an entirety isn't playing well, and we can like play better. And sometimes, you know, when a team isn't confident in what they want to do, one person kind of stands out like a sore thumb, and maybe that's just what's happening. And as Team Liquid gets more in form, Umti will fall in shape. Who knows? Like who knows? I'm making excuses for the guy, but I'm an apologist for sure. And then the Cloud9 game was quite the Team Liquid game was very entertaining because at least game one was like relatively close. Like it wasn't like complete stomp. Game two, even though they got the advantage, like they threw up Baron and like that was very hype. And I was actually getting ready to like call it a day and whatnot. And then they sold the Baron, they killed Umti twice, and then they were able to end the game, which was really cool to see. That they could fight back. Obviously, the NA fan in me was cheering for the 8-0, but at the same time, like the the competitive side of me of like, hey, I want LTA South to be competitive because I don't want the vibe to be like, oh, LTA South is so far away from LTA North, which is the vibe right now, which is what I was hearing in the press conference in the media room. That's not I don't think that's the case. I don't think we're so far off that or they're so far off because I do primarily think of the North like identify with the LTA North, right? I don't think that the South is so far off. I genuinely think give them like as long as they fine tune some of their issues, they can be more competitive. And I don't think it's very far off. I think what we saw with Pain against 100 Thieves, like you make Pain not int, like they probably win that game too, right? If Titan, like I actually asked because I was like, what the hell happened there? Titan doesn't make these types of mistakes. Like he doesn't just throw the game like that. They had Baron, they were pushing up, they were looking to get at least 2 towers because the members from 100 were like super low. I think it was the Kaisa and the Vi. They were super low. They both burned flash. It was like a really good situation for them. Sure, obviously Weiser died, but like the Mbessa died on Ping Gaming side, but they could have pushed them. And I was expecting that to happen. And like I guess he went a little bit too far. But the idea was like, hey, I'm going to stop them from backing. And then he got caught. But like there was logic behind it. They don't make that mistake, and all of a sudden it's a 1-1 series, and who knows what happens game three with all the pressure and like quid joke or whatever. Like who knows, right? Same thing with game one. Like if they don't throw that Baron, like the third dragon, if they had better setup, all of a sudden their issue isn't team fighting. Their issue is like they have generally good macro. They just don't finish all the steps. Loud obviously have different issues. Estral have different issues. Like every team has different issues, and like if you just like fine tune those issues, I think they can be very competitive with us. I'm hoping that by Worlds, like come Worlds, they will be competitive because we saw them competitive at Worlds last year. I think by Worlds time they're going to be competitive. Hey Marn, smoking that finals pack already? Fetch me FlyQuest. If you're a Cloud9 fan, you are so confident. Like if you're a Cloud9 or a Cloud9 fan, you are so confident in this Team Liquid looking so shaky. Like the fact that they were back to lose they lost an unlosable game state, right? Like what was Poppy doing? Why was she not in the pit? Why was someone else not trying to stop the Vi? Like it was a very confusing situation. Team Liquid are known to have really good Barons. They like completely threw that Baron twice in 2 games. Like it was yeah, if I'm on Cloud9, I'm very confident. Um but like you also have to keep in mind like Team Liquid can always show up, right? Like last year they definitely were dominant. Like they might show up. I was glad to see Jose had improved from when he was on Fly. Absolutely, hey Sick Mask. I was glad to see Jose play like so confidently and so energetically. I was kind of sad from what I saw with Lev because I thought Lev would play like with more. I know it's against FlyQuest and FlyQuest are so methodical and like their drafting game one was like do nothing and we will win, and like they did nothing. They made sure that nothing could happen and they won. So it was a little like anticlimactic, I guess, if you're a left fan. Like I wanted to see Cody like really push quad. I wanted to see what's his name? Uh crap. Pro Delta like really flex his muscles, and like we saw that a little bit, but not too much. Game two was more like back and forth because they had the pike pick and it was like they were diving and whatnot, but there's more that's more on a 100T playstyle thing than LTA South being close. I don't think so. Oh, okay. So I think 100 Thieves are legitimately the fourth worst team. Like out of all the LTA, I think they're fourth place. But you can't take away from Pain doing things right. Like they put the right setup, they got the right matchups, like they played team fights mechanically well. I don't think like I think 100 Thieves plays mechanically well too. So I don't know that it was poor macro from 100. Like yes, they don't have the greatest macro. They took a lot of fights, especially in that game too. They took a lot of fights that sure, like I will give you that. The fact that Pain had that lead was because of bad macro from 100 and just taking every single fight. But I think Pain were putting themselves in positions that were really good. I thought the tower die, like the lane swap of game 2 was really good by them. Like they got those 2 kills early, and like sure Ezreal got outplayed, but like usually you get an extra 2 kills there. Even then it was an even trade. The comp was much better than game 1. You know, those things matter. And I thought Golden Glue did a phenomenal job at scouting. Like okay, 100 Thieves did a phenomenal job at scouting and preparing because they took all of the best matchup. Like they took Titan's best champion in Ash. They took Kuri's best champion in Rakan. They took one of Karioka's best champions in Sejuani, right? Game 1? Or was it Maokai? It was Sedge, yeah. And like they had that very good warding for level 1. They got Titan's flash and killed him and his barrier, if I'm not mistaken, on Varus. It's like they had very good scouting. I just think that shows that they Pain can level up. And like they understand macro, they understand where to be at certain times in certain places, and they mess it up. And 100 Thieves do too. But like I think they're closer than we think. They're a poor macro team. They're very good at fighting. They make any team look competitive, but still close out well. Okay, game 1, yes. Game 2, it was absolutely Pain throwing. 100 Thieves should never like 100 Thieves didn't do anything special to win game 2. It was Titan eating forward into 5 people and dying. Like that's straight up what he did. So I don't know that I can give you that for game 1, and I can give you that for a lot of games. But I think if 100 was playing Estral, they lose because Estral was playing much cleaner around macro, in my opinion. The last chess from IE was actually winnable if they replaced Jin with Hui, Seraphine. Oh, so they asked the coach, what's his name? Snake? Crap, my brain is farting. Who's Estral's coach, guys? Who's the Estral coach? Who's the Estral coach? Solid Snake. There we go. They asked Solid Snake about why did they not pick like Jinx? Why didn't they pick something hyper carry in order to deal with Skarner? He was like, actually, Jin is very good into Skarner because Skarner can't get in range to deal damage to Jin because Jin will like zoom around the map. He has very long range. So we actually just wanted to outrange, and that's why we didn't pick the Skarner. We felt like if we picked something like a Jinx or something, like she would have to walk up in order to do damage and just die to Skarner. So that was his logic, and maybe in scrims like it works for them. I don't know that the game would be winnable with like a different carry that they don't really play. I don't know if Snake like Snacker plays like Seraphine or Hui or something like that. I don't know. I think if you're looking for an example, you shouldn't use 100T IMO. 100T was making DSG look competitive. Yeah, but 100T is like our number 1 seed. Like they're one of our top 4, right? I'm not saying that they can take a spot from Worlds. I'm not saying like they can win at all, but I'm saying they can definitely be competitive. You know, it's not impossible for Estral to have won that game 3, right? Even with the draft that they had, it wasn't like it got blown open towards the end, yes, but at some point it got blown open. So I think I just think that give it more time, right? Because I think every team is a little bit rusty, and I think when you have bigger holes, it's easier for you to patch them than when you have smaller holes because you can't really identify them. Yeah, it's harder to identify them, right? Like when you have very small problems and fixing every problem only increases you like 1% or 0.5%, whereas you have one problem where fixing it fixes you like 10%. It's easier for the LTA South to catch up to the North than it is for the North to keep improving. That's just how I think about it, but I could be wrong with that. It could be like as they are improving, we just improve more, and like they never catch up. 100T is not 4th with TL playing like this. Okay, good point, Polo. Good point. I will see that. I still think 100 Thieves were embarrassing. Like the fact that they played so poorly into Pain, despite Pain making so many mistakes. The fact like game 2 was like absolutely embarrassing. But then there's Umti, right? Which we're gonna get to. Hey Joseph Lee, the developer, how do you like LTA versus old LCS? I prefer LCS. Like you haven't sold me anything for the LTA to be cooler besides going to Brazil. And like, could it not be LCS versus CBLOL? It absolutely could. So I don't feel like the LTA, like, first of all, the LTA doesn't have a mascot. You know, if you introduced an LTA mascot like Duolingo Bird, for example, and like really pushed it and had its own branded identity, I would be like, oh, the rebrand was a success. As of right now, I think the rebrand only harmed. Maybe looking at like 3-4 years in the future, the brand makes sense. But I personally didn't like it. I didn't like the fact that it could have been LTA and the northern side is called LCS. The southern side is called CBLOL. That's what I was pushing for. I understand why they didn't want to do that, because they didn't want to feel like it was a separate region. But personally, I don't know how you guys feel about the LTA versus LCS. I still like LCS. I don't like the stats. Our stats are combined. So when we looked at the stats, they showed it in game one, but the all-time death leader. And number two was Afram at 1630. Number three was Impact at like, I don't even remember. And then number one was Robo. Like, how is it fair when they were playing in completely different leagues and all of a sudden LTA like absorbs all of that? We had different formats, it was different stuff. It's like adding Impact's LCK totals all of a sudden because now it's just a global Riot circuit. I don't like that. I would have preferred if we just had new stats or something different, like LTA North stat and LTA South, and like keep it that way. But when you combine it, it just didn't feel right to me. Especially since they separate some of the stuff, like in the post game lobby or analyst lounge or whatever they call it. They had like the most fearless person, whatever it is. Like I think it was Yon, Quid, and Quad had all played 8 champions. And they're like, oh, this is LTA North only, even though it was an LTA like most fearless. And the South had 11. Who had 11? Was it someone from Loud? Was it Chino? It can't be Chinos. He didn't play 11 champions. Maybe it was Robo. Maybe Robo had the most champions played. I don't think so, but I don't remember who it was, to be honest. But someone had more champions played. So, and they didn't show that because it was a separate graphic. So I don't know. I don't like so far how they're doing it. I think they could make it better. Obviously, I don't think they've done that so far. LCS over LTA. Yeah, I think I agree with you there, Sick Mask. Our viewership has declined because of it. I don't know that it's because of it. I think, yeah, I'd say that, sure. Why rebrand if you're not going to properly market it? Absolutely. I should have read your whole message. Yeah, I don't think they properly market it. I don't think the teams are doing a great job at marketing. I think if you're a team that's not in LTA right now, like in the cross conference play, and you're not like tweeting, you're not like co-streaming, you're not doing stuff to involve people about the games, like have your players talk about stuff. If I'm DSG, right? And I'm disguised. I'm having Castle, like, after the game, talk to Wiser. Or, like, maybe talk to some NA players. Maybe have him talk to, like, Inspire, or who's a Korean on FlyQuest? Oh, they don't, the Quad. Have Castle talk to Quad and ask him about the games. Maybe even do it in Korean, get some more Korean fans. But have your players involved in making some sort of content for DSG, or for Shopify, or for anybody. Because at the end of the day, you're not talking, so people don't care about you. Like, why do CBLOL or LTA South are not thinking about Shopify disguised dignity? Like, it's not. But guess what? If you have all of a sudden Seiyus making content, and talking to Chinos, because they were ex-teammates, right, after the game, or talking to Route after the game, or talking to Brents didn't even make it, but like talking to these players, or talking to Pro Delta because he played against them, and be like, how did you feel about the game, yada yada yada, like that would make people like think of Shopify a little bit more. But we're not doing that, which is a little frustrating. I don't know what Seiyus has been doing. He hasn't tweeted. I don't think he was streaming either. So I would really like the teams to step up a little bit, because I think Cloud9 have been doing a great job. I think FlyQuest have been doing an okay job. I think the rest of the league has not been doing enough to market the LTA to make people want to watch your games. You know, I don't think the players have been doing enough. I talked about this more. Okay. Before we get into like more Umti talk, man. Yesterday, I was complete panic mode. I don't know who was here yesterday, but I was just like, dude, what the hell are we going to do? Our viewership is so low. Like, and then it turns out esports charts was just completely and entirely wrong. And it was like 200,000 more than what they reported. So yeah, viewership is fine. Like, we are not tanking LTA South, thankfully. It's not time for like the full panic button. So I'm just glad that it's not time for full panic button. Now, getting to Umti. Umti is an interesting case because Umti is used to losing. He is used to the pressure of like being... He's losing, but he was normally a very good player on his team. Like, I'm not going to say he was the best player on all the teams that he played, because I can't remember all of his teammates off the top of my head. But he was a lot of times that I watched him, he was the reason they were getting those early games. And yes, they were throwing towards the end, but like he was the reason they had the ability to throw games, if that makes sense. I don't know if that's a good thing or positive thing or a bad thing, but like he was getting them leads and he was known the general for a reason, right? His early game in general was like very good. Um, it is very different when you play poorly and win versus when you play well and lose. So, like, for example, when Contracts was on NRG and he was losing, but yet he was the only person that was actually trying on that roster, everybody was looking at Contracts saying, poor Contracts. Meanwhile, looking at Dokla, looking at Palafox, looking at Huhi and being like, what the hell are they doing? They're completely inting. Get these people off the team. I know between spring and summer, a lot of people, a lot of analysts were saying, even Cubby, if I'm not mistaken, maybe I shouldn't have quoted a person, but I've heard this from multiple people where they were saying, I'm very surprised that NRG did not drop Dokla and pick up Surdy in between splits to revitalize the team because Dokla's not playing well, right? And so, like, a lot of people were sad about Contracts, and I can understand Contracts kind of checking out if his team is like, he doesn't feel as bad, but he might check out. But when it's the opposite, when you're like the bad player on a good team, that pressure is very different. So, like, I know trying to keep his mental is like something that they've been really working hard on. And one of the things are like, he's so used to losing. Like, one of the things he mentions, like, I'm used to losing. So, like, don't worry, guys, I will recover. You used to lose when you were the shining star. Right now, you are like the dim light, the light bulb that's like flickering that looks like it's about to time out. There's so many people calling for his head, calling for Yuji or import another jungler, anything, call for anything. And I already mentioned my opinion. I think you should not get rid of Umti if he like is absolutely inting it and like every game going 0-12. Sure, maybe you get a second player, but as of right now, you give him the confidence to say, "Hey, we're all not playing well. This is still the beginning of the year. We're going to get back to the form that we were in when we won LTA. We're going to be even better. Like we're going to improve." That's my opinion on it. I don't know that Umti will continue to have these problems when Spawn comes back because I feel like Spawn did a good job at like helping Umti through his issues, and right now Spawn isn't there, and I don't know that when Spawn is there, these issues proceed. So before I see Spawn with Team Liquid, I'm not, which I think is going to happen in summer. I think he's just going to leave them for the first half of the year, and then he's come back in summer and for Worlds and stuff like that. Until I see that, until I see Umti working with the full like Spawn and everything, I don't want Team Liquid to even hire a sixth person. I don't want them to sign another player. I don't want anything. I want you to give confidence to this player because as someone who's like dealt in like tutoring and like it's very different. I never taught sports, right, or esports, but I've taught like children and adolescents and teenagers, and maybe not someone like Umti's age. But giving someone confidence can make such a big difference in their performance when you know that the team is like actively trusting you versus when you're like, oh man, am I going to be benched? That's a big difference, and I don't want Umti to get to that position. As an NA fan who wants NA, like I'm very happy that Cloud9 can challenge. Like we have 3 legitimately good teams, and I think 100 Thieves, depending on the day, can either win or lose, right? They're not consistent enough for me yet to put them in like top 3, even though they got the first seed. They're not consistent enough yet. I want to see Team Liquid not be inconsistent and be consistently strong. So we have 3 very good teams. And I can legitimately be sad when one of our top teams does not make it to Worlds because we only get 2 spots maximum. All right, let me catch your stride. Not gonna lie, I feel like another week of playing versus Dig, DSG, Lion, SR would have had more 2-1 than this weekend. I mean, I agree. I think in general, when you're scrimming against better opponents, when you have better solo queue, when you just have a generally better like environment to play, you're going to be closer to your competition. I think Dig are my dark horse. I would not be surprised if Dig are top 3 by the end of summer. Like they are improving. They're improving fast. I know Surdy has his issues. He has 7, 8 weeks off or something. He had like 2 months off where he can practice. He can have his coach telling him like, hey, this is what you need to do. Hey, this is not what you need to do. If he wants to go boot camp in Korea, they're playing in Korea right now. You can get some scrims. Like maybe they're not. All the teams are going to be going to Korea for Last Stand. Everybody's going to be scrimming in March. Like you can really accelerate your learning because Dig didn't boot camp before the beginning of the split. I think Surdy is going to learn. I think he's going to learn quickly. I think he's humble enough to understand that there's a lot for him to learn. So I'm optimistic for Dignitas. I'm optimistic for Dig. Um, Shopify, we have to see what's going to happen with Seus. Yeah, we have to see what's going to happen with Seus. Arguably, and maybe I'm being hyperbolic, Umti is the worst jungler in LTA North. Polo God, welcome first. Oh, you were already here, actually. I don't know why I'm saying welcome. I will not. We have really good junglers. I'll say that much. Let's just go through the junglers. Okay, we have Inspired. I would put Inspired ahead. Okay. We have Blabber. Right now, I think Blabber's playing better. We have River. I think River's playing better. Those are the other top 4 teams. Then let's look at Shopify. Contracts. I don't think Contracts had that great of a. I mean, he played better than Umti, right? Okay, I'll give it to Contracts. Who's on Disguised? XU? I mean, XU did int one of those games typing. I'd say they're about the same. I wouldn't hate you if you said Umti is playing worse than XU. I think Umti had bigger flaws and he had one really bad game, but in general, I think his highs are higher than XU so far. I know we only seen two series from XU. Audi, I think, yeah, okay, I'll put Audi over. And then I'm missing one more team. I did Lion. I did. Oh, Shaden. I don't know. It's hard for me to give a specific I don't know. I can't judge Shaden. He didn't even play the full series, so I'm not really gonna judge. I don't. He played okay. He didn't wow me with the Sejuani. He didn't make me very depressed. I don't know that Umti is the worst. I think he's bottom 3, sure. You said you're being hyperbolic, but he's one of the worst. I'll say that. He's not top 4, which last year he was. If you bring back all 5 players to another go round, I think a round robin, expectations should be to compete for first and a minimum second. If they get 2-0 by C9, changes are needed. Ooh, don't you think that's a little okay? Let me respond to this comment, and then I'll read your comment. Sick. If the okay, let me figure out how I want to say this. Okay, this split is fearless. This tournament is fearless. One of Team Liquid's strengths and focuses last year was we were going to play the same champions and get really good and know every single matchup and every single situation, almost like a game of chess. We will have our openings prepped. If they do this, we do this because we know our champion's damage and limits. And so that's why I would say no, Polo, because even if they get 2-0'd and look abysmal, which I don't think they will, right? I think they'll look fine. Even if they lose, they'll look competitive. I think you still keep it because their strength from last year might not necessarily translate to this year. And at least give it the spring split or split 2. At least give split 2. That's my argument to you. Is okay, if you're Team Liquid and you have aspirations for making it to Worlds and you're losing 2-0 to Cloud9 and you lost it to 100 Thieves, who realistically speaking you shouldn't lose to, there's a problem and change is needed. I see that argument. My counter argument is hey, this is a very short split, and what happened is you guys aren't good at fearless. Let us actually stick this out, see if we can fix our problems in a regular split, a non-fearless split, and then sort of if things are still not going well, you do you pull a FlyQuest, you pick up a really good jungler, just like FlyQuest picked up Quad, all of a sudden they elevate. Sure, they had a little bit of a dip, but then they elevated towards the end of the split. I think you could do that. But I would not overreact. I would not react that way if they lost to 2-0. I wouldn't say changes are needed. That's my argument back. I'm also an Umti apologist. I apologist the wrong name. I think I trust in Umti to recover is a better way. I cannot apologize for his showing. He played poorly. He made game losing mistakes multiple occasions. He's not playing well. I'm not going to argue with that. I'm not trying to defend him, but I think give him time is what I'm saying. I want a Team Liquid to keep him after Worlds. Me too. I also admit he hasn't looked great. Okay, we're on the same page then. I really want him to improve, but I don't know if he will. Makes me sad. I'm with you 100% of the way. Sick. Last year I was a Team Liquid hater. This year I promised if Team Liquid kept their entire roster, I will not be a hater. I'm not a hater. I'm actually cheering for Team Liquid, believe it or not, just because I had a very nice interview with Impact where he really opened up and shared a lot of stuff, and I felt like I wanted to cheer him on. I know it's and I used to be a Team Liquid fan before I became their worst hater, but yeah, right now I'm kind of cheering on for Impact more than Team Liquid. So I would like Umti to play well. I think Impact can level up as well. I think that game 2, On the Jax, he had a very good early game, but I know they put him in positions where like he's not doing that great. Like he's gonna be down CS and whatnot, but still, I want to see more from Impact because like I want Top Die to come back. You know, I'm more accepting of XU Shaden and Audi contracts being not good since they've to adjust to new teams. Ooh, that's a good point, Erwin. That's a very good point. They have like so many like variables around them that could make it so that they're not playing to like their full capacity. Whereas with Umti, he's played with them for the entire year and went to every single international. He went to 3 international tournaments last year and played like a lot more games than anybody else. That's a good point. But Umti had the same team and his weakness had never improved. I would say it's even worse. I think Umti got worse. I don't know what you guys think, but I think Umti ever since like Worlds, I guess. I don't even know. I just he threw a little bit at MSI. He threw a little bit at EWC. He's the reason. Like again, he made game losing mistakes. They lost to T1 because Umti made mistakes, and he acknowledges that. At Worlds, I think there are more problems than just Umti. I will say that much. Yes, he had a very bad game against Gam. Right, game 1, they even lost that game to Gam. But I think like he had problems. He just didn't have it every game. Now it just seems like he's having it a lot more. Right. Also, losing to C9 is not that bad. C9 are actually really good. That's true, SLJ. C9 are actually really good. I was saying mainly like if they lost to C9, like embarrassingly, you know, like they couldn't even compete. They looked like C9 was just like a level above, you know, like kind of like how C9 dominated Lion. Like you don't want to see that, right? But I don't think that'll happen. I think you run the TL roster till the end of the year. That's what I would do, and then you make changes. Yan is your future franchise player, absolutely. You should let go APA and Umti. Ooh. They did, so they extended both Yan and APA's contracts. So I don't know that you let go of APA. I will say with APA, you have to remember, like, Yan has over a year on him, like a year and a half of gameplay, of professional, like, tier 1 play. And Yan, year 1, didn't look nearly as good as APA did by the end of his year 1. I think it's a little too early to say, yeah, throw away on APA. Especially since our mid pool is like not that insane. We have really good mid laners, but we don't have that top tier like Jojo Pune level of like mid laners in NA anymore, right? Quad and Quid are like there. Actually, maybe we do. Quad and Quid are pretty good. I think losing Jojo was like a big hit to our mid pool. And he's not playing well either. Like APA isn't losing well either. I don't know. It could be a thing where you have to move off of APA. The question is, who do you get? I don't want a random Korean, right? The question is, who do you get? Let's not act like Impact had a good showing. Agreed. Impact this, like last week, he had a much better showing than this week. I think this week, Birtle kind of played quite well. But what I will say is like always a strength of the Impact is that he plays lane swaps so well. He gets XP when he shouldn't. He like gets, he was ahead to begin with at the GP like versus, he got counterpicked too, so you have to remember that. They played really well. They also put Impact in like a losing position a lot of times where he's not getting the CS, he's not getting the farm, he's not getting the experience in favor of Yan getting all of that. Again, he still didn't play well, but I do think part of it, he looks even worse because of the situation, right? I think AD Gary took a bigger hit with Berserker leaving. Ooh, okay. Okay, Andros, I see you. I agree. I think Berserker leaving is a big gap because Yan and Masu were playing well. And then Berserker left, and who's replacing? Like, who's playing as well as Berserker? Sven isn't. Bvoy isn't. Bvoy isn't playing as well as Bvoy was playing. APA has been playing for 4 splits now? Yeah, but Yan has been playing for 7. Right? Like, this is his 7th split, whereas this is APA's 4th split. Toasty Alex, that kid has hands, just very raw. Yeah, I've heard a lot about. I haven't seen Toasty play. To be fair, I will watch him probably this OQ, or is he NACL? I'm pretty sure he's on an OQ team. Maybe I'm wrong. Either way, I thought the best mid laners were Spyrax and Quad in spring. Oh, okay. Sven is playing really well. I'm not saying he's playing bad. I just thought Berserker is a better AD carry. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying he's playing bad. I'm just saying in general, I think Masu and Busio are like a step above Sven and Bvoy and Henna and everybody else. I think they're like clearly the top two, right? Even FBI, I think he's not there. I think last year when Berserker, especially in summer split, Berserker was playing quite well, and I thought Berserker, Jan, and Masu were like our top three. And then Bvoy like had that downfall where he wasn't playing as well, and Sven wasn't playing as well. Yeah, he's in NACL. Okay, I'm glad that he's still in NACL. I don't know. I watched spring NACL when Fly won. I didn't watch too much of summer. I watched the finals, right? And then I watched the Americas tournament a little bit. I watched the playoffs. I didn't actually didn't. Okay, Marius didn't even make it out. It was crazy. Anyways, but yeah, I don't know. I think you wait until the end of the year and then you make that decision. And then whoever picks up APA is going to be a very solid team. I think APA is very smart about the game. That's the other thing, that Sven was speaking Arabic that game today. He had racist move. What on Corky? Oh my god, brother. Mix, chill out. I was like, wait, you mean Masu, right? Because Masu speaks Arabic, but Sven doesn't. And then you're like, he had racist movement. You know, they're banned for saying racist stuff. Like, oh, that's a racist champ. You're not allowed to say that. Riot for good reason, right? On Corky, yeah, okay. I was so confused. I was like, what do you mean he was speaking Arabic, dude? He was in Masu. I actually think Berserker leaving didn't change much because Berserker last year was pretty bad. I thought in summer he was good. I thought in spring he was like bad, but in summer it's Hums Corky. Oh, okay. I won't forget the Ziggs game. Yeah, those Ziggs games were not. He's an OTP. Yeah, those games were. Sven is a much better Corky, not Corky. Sorry, much better Ziggs than Berserker. But I still like. I mean, we didn't have 2023 Berserker in 2024, but in summer I still think he played well. I think the truly nerf position is support. It's a compliment, right? Renekton speaking Chinese. Oh, okay. I didn't realize it's a. I thought yeah. I've never heard someone say that before, but LTA support outside top 3, they fall off. Wait, last split we had worse supports. Last split last year Vulcan wasn't playing well until like summer, and even then he wasn't like playing as good as he is now. And then Busio in spring wasn't playing well, right? He played well at first, but then like he kind of fell off. And then only Core JJ was really our good support, right? If you think about it, like we had Zazel, we had NRG, Huhi wasn't playing that great. We had what other teams? Ayla was like playing really poorly. I think Ayla is playing better than he was last split. I think Vulcan is playing better than he was last split. I think Busio left off where he left off last split and is playing well. I think Core JJ is still playing well, maybe a little bit less as than last split. I think. I mean, we still don't have Seus, so we can't really judge. Ayla's. I already mentioned Ayla, and then I don't know. I feel like our support our support pool nerfed. I don't think so. He's still there, right? I think he's actually a little bit unleashed. I don't think our support pool got nerfed. I actually think our support players are just playing better. No. I mean, just the sheer fact that Ayla's playing really well. Like, I don't know what to say, but this guy's playing well. Like, he's actually smurfing. Okay, maybe smurfing is a little too much, but he's playing really well. And I thought like Vulcan's playing really well too. I'm actually impressed with Vulcan. Like, I actually thought Vulcan would not get back to his form. I legitimately thought like, okay, Vulcan is gonna be off of Cloud9 by next year. He's not gonna remain. We just have really bad support. So they're gonna wait until they can import a support or something because our support pool is like legitimately Busio and Core. But now we have Ayla in the mix. Hopefully we'll have Seus in the mix as well. And we have what's his name? Vulcan's playing really well. So honestly, I don't know what position is like bad in the LTA. I feel like in general, our positions are like much more competitive than they were 2 years ago. I think jungle, we already talked about it. Like when Umti is one of your worst junglers, I think that's a good problem, right? I think our support pool we just talked about, mid lane, like I think Quad and Quid are really good. And then I think there's a pretty good gap. I think Kaney is like still like Kaney was beating Quad in certain matchups and whatnot. And then when I asked Quad about it, or when someone asked Quad, I think Basil, it wasn't my interview. I didn't do an interview with FlyQuest. Basil asked Quad about that, and she was like, yeah, you know, you're supposed to get pushed in this matchup, but then they just like kept ganking me, so I couldn't get pushed. So I lost push, so I lost the matchup. But like I think Kaney is pretty good. I think Saint, we haven't seen enough for me to judge, but like from what I did see, looked pretty good. So I think maybe our mid pool is also okay. I think our top 3 mid laners are pretty good. Loki has looked relative. Like I thought Loki was going to be mid, and that's what we needed. What C9 needed. They just needed a mid laner who isn't like JoJo, who isn't going to carry the game, and just let the rest of the team play around Blabber. But I genuinely am happy with the way Loki is playing with his team. Like he looks so much more connected with Cloud9 in like a couple of weeks. I know they boot camped. All right, in a couple months, than JoJo did the entire year. So it's actually quite cool to see. I will say. I'm optimistic for this Cloud9 roster and for Loki. So I think our mid pool is fine. AD carry, we already talked about it. There's Masu and Yon, and then there's Sven's playing well, FBI's playing well. Who else is playing well? I think Henna played well, but I still want to see more out of him. Tomo had some games where he was playing well. I think Scary did not look well. B-Boy looked okay. Definitely not top 5. Our AD carry pool could use a little bit of like improvement. I think if we had a couple more like really solid AD carries, it would push the league even further. Top lane, I mean, Whippo. I mean, Impact isn't like Impact is going to be Impact, right? He's going to be good, but right now he's not playing to that level. I think Sniper is having a little bit of like Sniper's having problems. I think Surdy is being welcomed to the LTA, so maybe our top lane pool, like Licorice isn't playing that great either. Thanatos is good. Yeah, maybe our top lane is it. Like maybe top lane is the weakest role. I think top lane went from being like one of our strongest roles for some time to our weakest role right now. Surprisingly, like it's either that or support, right? Because our bottom few supports are not that great, but I think our top tier top laners are there, and then there's like a gap. But yeah, the games were fun. I have one interview with Wiser that I'm gonna publish, and then I have 2 post game press conferences with both Cloud9 and Team Liquid. I thought the Cloud9 one was kind of interesting. The quote I will give you. Actually, I don't even need to check the quote. I know what the quote is. APA said that the fans in Brazil are way better than LA fans. And then afterwards, Corey J is like, but the LA fans are awesome too. And I was like, okay. They're also amazing or something like that. I was like, sure, buddy, sure. But yeah, look forward to those interviews, like 3 of them. I didn't record the other ones because like the majority of the one for IE was majority in Spanish, and I didn't really want to translate Spanish. And the other one was in Portuguese, and I really didn't want to translate Portuguese, so I didn't like. I'm not gonna publish them, but I attended them just to hear what they were saying and like to get the vibe of what was happening. But yeah, I think that's it for this week of LTA. There's LTA report on Wednesday. That's gonna be fun. Should I? Okay, I don't think Marna's here, but I might just to piss Marn off. Predict Team Liquid to win. Just to piss Marn off. I'll be like, oh, Impact is going to gap Thanatos. Wait, what's the worst argument? Oh, I think the worst argument that I can make is Umti is going to gap Blabber, but I think that's like not, that's a little too much for me. So I think a better argument might be like, APA beating Loki. I think Loki is really bad. Or maybe Impact gapping Thanatos. I think that's like a bad enough argument that like he could be like, what the hell are you saying, my man? Hopefully he doesn't see this. But I think that's what I'll do. Should be fun. I'm looking forward to the rest of LTA and first stand. I think we have like we're off 10 days and then we go right into Korea. So the split's kind of fun. It's fast, but it's fun. And I'm looking forward to just more gameplay. I just want more. But yeah, thanks guys for watching. And I'll see you guys. I'll probably have some videos, like I said, Monday, Tuesday, but then I will stream on Wednesday.